I'm Robin Buser. I'm a librarian, and I'm going to read from Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. It was a horrible joke, but Dr. Nika didn't laugh until Yossarian came to him one mission later and pleaded again, without any real expectation of success, to be grounded. Dr. Nika snickered once and was soon immersed in problems of his own, which included Chief White Halfote, who had been challenging him all that morning to Indian wrestle, and Yossarian, who decided right then and there to go crazy. "You're wasting your time," Dr. Nika was forced to tell him. "Can't you ground someone who's crazy?" "Oh, sure, I have to. There's a rule saying I have to ground anyone who's crazy." "Then why don't you ground me? I'm crazy. Ask Clevenger." "Clevenger? Where is Clevenger?" "You find Clevenger and I'll ask him." "Then ask any of the others. They'll tell you how crazy I am." "They're crazy." "Then why don't you ground them?" "Why don't you just ask me to ground them?" "Because they're crazy, that's why." "Of course they're crazy," Dr. Nika replied. "I just told you they're crazy, didn't I? And you can't let crazy people decide whether you're crazy or not, can you?" Yossarian looked at him soberly and tried another approach. "Is Orr crazy?" "He sure is," Dr. Nika said. "Can you ground him?" "I sure can, but first he has to ask me to. That's part of the rule." "Then why doesn't he ask you to?" "Because he's crazy," Dr. Nika said. "He has to be crazy to keep flying combat missions after all the close calls he's had. Sure, I can ground Orr, but first he has to ask me to." "That's all he has to do to be grounded?" "That's all. Let him ask me." "And then you will ground him?" Yossarian asked. "No, then I can't ground him." "You mean there's a catch?" "Sure there's a catch," Dr. Nika replied. "Catch-22. Anyone who wants to get out of combat duty isn't really crazy." There was only one catch, and that was Catch-22, which specified that a concern for one's own safety in the face of dangers that were real and immediate was the process of a rational mind. Orr was crazy and could be grounded. All he had to do was ask, and as soon as he did, he would no longer be crazy and would have to fly more missions. Orr would be crazy to fly more missions and sane if he didn't, but if he was sane, he had to fly them. If he flew them, he was crazy and didn't have to, but if he didn't want to, he was sane and had to. Yossarian was moved very deeply by the absolute simplicity of this clause of Catch-22 and let out a respectful whistle. "That's some catch, that is Catch-22, he observed. "It's the best there is yet," Dr. Nika agreed.